you know, it was a funny thing, Alvie. My mother was registered, you know, when she sent for birth certificate, came right through. Maggie's came right through. Several people, you know, just whistled right through, nothing to it. And we get down to about Bob and Annie, and there's not registered.
Oh.
And they get into Laura and Colin, you know, Colin Thompson's girls, they weren't registered. And now that age group, the people that are now about 75, they're not registered. And nobody could figure where their registration was. But then I start to add, you know how things will come back to you. And I remember Dad telling, there would have to be about that time, about them having, you see, that when Mother was registered, Grandpa said you just went to the post office. And they had a form in the post office and they registered them. Then it got more sophisticated and they registered it with the clerk.
Yes.
And at the early day, to save him his trouble and postage, to give him a quarter, because he was likely not getting very much, you know, salary, so they give him a quarter to register the baby's birth. And I remember Dad telling, there was a Donovan, a Jerry Donovan was clerk. And when Austin Legree took over the books, and that would be about 1905 or 6 or in that area, about all the crooked work and every copper he could put in his pocket, he would put it in his pocket. And this is what went on, Alvie. These kids wasn't registered. He put the quarter in his pocket. He never registered. So he maybe had to send it in. I don't know, you know. But there's a whole herd in there. I've had more people ask me about where could we find a school record, you know, the pension, to get their pension.
Right.
And they weren't registered.
Okay.
But we got the records, most of them, several times off census, you know, we write the same.
I'm using the name Alvin for my pension.
Yes.
For when I wrote them for my certificate, and I give them all the data that,
Yes.
that was called for, and it all added up there, and it was my name was Alvin.
Alvin.
Well, and
You were never.
no, I want to go to have that changed. I've been using that for.
On your pension.
Yes, and now they have it changed at the bank too.
Your right name is Alvie.
Yes.
I know.
And
Well, you know
my
what's
name was correct.
Oh, your second name was what, Eric?
Edmund.
Edmund. Do you know what's happened? Do you know what's happened to Alvie? They have sent your registration in, and there's been some smarty-ass clerk in there and said, well, Alvie's not a name, it's Alv, and they've spelled it wrong, so they corrected it.
In the township register, it's Alvie, A-L-V-I-E.
Yeah.
For I checked it myself.
Yeah.
You see, I used to have the,
Yes, you had the books.
Have the books. Right.
I'll tell you another one that, talking about this, when Grandma Thompson wrote away to get her birth certificate, and apparently she must have been registered, and she got hers back, and her name was Teeny, Christina, and when she got it back, her name wasn't Christina, it was Chrisanne.
Oh yes, there's a lot with Chrisanne or Christiane.
Yeah, well, it was just Chrissane, and E on the end of it too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Chrisanne. But,
You know, something I also discovered this summer was, you know, my grandfather was James Carswell.
That's right.
And his father was David Carswell.
Yeah.
And his father before that was Benjamin Carswell.
yeah,
Benjamin and Orpha.
yeah.
Lived at Mount St. Patrick.
Mount St.
And I went
Patrick.
back there trying to see if I could find the cemetery and find a grave marker. Couldn't find it. I come out to Dacre.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that little cemetery that's, you know where those houses, those log houses?
Yes.
Before you cross the creek there?
Lower Acre, yeah.
I went in there, sure enough, there was Benjamin and Orpha Carswell.
Very
Right
big.
in that cemetery. My
Mhm.
great grandfather.
That's an old cemetery. Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think, well, I know Mom didn't know about,
No.
She never did that.
Well,
And,
sort of a discovery.
I was telling Annie and Olive,
mm-hmm.
one day we were going down on the
Bus.
on the bus, and I was asking them if they knew that their great grandfather was buried there. No, they'd never heard tell of it.